Hello and welcome to this special edition of Strait Talk from the Turkish capital Ankara. I'm Ayşe Süberker. It's been 100 years since the Republic of Türkiye was declared back on October 29th, 1923. Join me as I look at what's been achieved over the past century. I'm at the final resting place of the man who started it all, having launched a war of independence against several occupying powers that took advantage of the chaos following the First World War. Mustafa Kemal Atatürk not only expelled the foreign occupiers, but he built the nation we know today as Türkiye.
Bu anda büyük Türk milletinin bir ferdi olarak bu kutlu güne kavuşmanın en derin sevinci ve heyecanı içindeyim.
From the ashes of defeat in the First World War and a war of independence that followed, Turkey would undertake a century-long journey of democratization and rapid modernization. It all began when Turkey's Grand National Assembly abolished the Ottoman Sultanate in November 1922. The Treaty of Lausanne was signed a year later on July 24th, which recognized the boundaries of the modern state of Türkiye. And on October 29th, a republic was proclaimed, with Ankara as its capital and Mustafa Kemal Atatürk as its first elected president. Türkiye has since carried out a number of reforms that would have a lasting impact on generations to come. In March 1923, the Izmir Economic Congress was held, and it was here that early economic policies were first articulated. Later, the Republic established its first state-owned bank, İşbank, followed by others to support small businesses. And in another political move, Atatürk switched from the Ottoman script to a Latin-based alphabet and was followed by the country becoming a secular state. In 1934, Turkish women also gained the right to vote and run for office, years ahead of their regional peers. Starting in the 1930s, Turkey adopted the slogan "Peace at home, peace in the world." Turkey would go on to join the League of Nations in 1932 and the United Nations in 1945 as one of its founding members. In a bid to counter the Soviet Union during the Cold War, the Truman Doctrine established by the US would give Turkey political and financial support via the Marshall Plan.
You will find in us an ally animated by a spirit of wholehearted collaboration and ready to take a full share in all the efforts directed towards the realization of the aims of the treaty to which we are now acceding.
In the years that followed, the political atmosphere in the country was tense, with 4 military coups taking place over the next 5 decades. In 1974, following a Greek-orchestrated coup in Cyprus, Turkey intervened militarily as a guarantor power to ensure the safety of the island's Turkish population. But the move triggered an arms embargo by the US in 1975. But with the end of the Cold War, Turkey saw its global role shift dramatically. At the turn of the millennium, Turkey enjoyed a decade of rapid economic development where living standards rose along with a building boom to modernize the country's infrastructure. But that economic surge was briefly interrupted by a failed coup attempt on July 15, 2016. After a shadowy military faction led by the FETÖ terrorist organization was defeated by the Turkish public, Turkey experienced many changes in regional and international dynamics. In 2019, with terrorism and national security threats growing, Turkey purchased the Russian S-400 air defense system after Western allies refused to provide alternatives. This resulted in the US removing Turkey from the F-35 fighter jet program. In response, Ankara would ramp up its domestic arms industry to end its reliance on imports. Its domestically built Bayraktar drones have proved decisive on several battlefields, as Turkey also began sharing technology such as its milgem ships with other nations. Meanwhile, Ankara shifted its foreign policy approach towards diplomacy as a way to resolve great power conflicts. It recently helped facilitate the Black Sea Grain Initiative to unblock millions of tons of Ukrainian grain trapped by the conflict with Russia.
To our hosts, President Erdogan and the government of Türkiye, your facilitation and persistence have been essential through every step of this process. Shock teşekkür ederim.
Along with its diplomatic reach, Turkey has developed a humanitarian arm that's able to respond to disasters across the globe. Turkey's aid agencies went into full swing after the country was rocked by twin earthquakes on February 6th. Today, Turkey stands as a leading regional power in maintaining global peace and security. And as the Republic celebrates its centennial, one can only wonder what the next 100 years will look like.
Türk milleti çalışkandır. Türk milleti zekidir.
Turkey has seen momentous change over the past century, and much of that transformation has taken place right behind me at the Grand National Assembly of Türkiye. Every economic, political and military reform was first thought of, debated and passed into law here. To get a better understanding of how that change occurred and the reforms that still need to be done, I spoke with the chairman of the Committee on Foreign Affairs at the Turkish Parliament and former Vice President Fuat Oktay. We discussed how much the country has transformed since its founding.
The Parliament, as I've just mentioned, during the First World War, like the end of Ottoman Empire, it was the main kind of like the decision maker then, which has basically established the army and directed and led the war for independence of the nation. And then once we have got the independence, then again it was this parliament was basically passed the first constitution in 1921.
Yes.
Established itself, the GNA has established itself in 1920, and then they established the Republic of Turkey in 1923. So it was all parliament itself indeed, led by Atatürk then. From the establishment of the Turkiye towards today, the parliament has played a very strong role.
So, as a former vice president and now the head of the Turkish Parliament's Foreign Relations Committee, how do you feel the Turkish foreign policy has evolved in the last 100 years?
We really did not look for creating any conflicts around our region. We have sought for ways to contribute to the peace initiatives. But we were very decisive when it comes to our own security, when it comes to our own kind of like interests. Then we were very decisive to respond whatever the threats are. But again, our main principle is peace and peace in the world and peace in the region. But even in today's foreign policy, or in today's world, when you look at Turkish foreign policy, one of the main differences is Turkey has come to a state in which we can now be more kind of like assertive. We can stand for our own interests.
Do you believe the Turkish foreign policy has become more assertive?
More independent, indeed. Turkish policy has become more independent just because of we are not much dependent for like in defense products,
Yes, that's important.
or for other sectors as well. So the more powerful Turkey gets into, the more independent development policies, the foreign policies, it will deploy indeed. Turkey, comparing to its past, it has becoming more and more independent. That's one of the points that's not really appreciated
Yes.
by its Western allies. That's one of the main sources of the problem that we have been facing today with the Western allies. They are kind of like having a hard time to kind of like readjust themselves to our current position, and we are making it very clear.
So speaking of our Western allies, as well as the Turkish foreign policy's basis that it wants peace and stability within its region. So how concerned are the Turkish lawmakers about what has been happening in Gaza?
Well, it's totally unfortunate because it's chaos, full of uncertainties, full of unpredictabilities, but almost like alive, all the parliamentarians, all of us, almost watch the infants, civilians, elderlies being bombed and killed. It's a massacre. In the contrary, we are totally against killing, attacking civilians, no matter who attacks who. But when you look at the entire period, you can see clearly that it's an invasion policy. Israel is the invader, clearly, and Palestine basically faces with the invasion. Loses its land, loses its people, loses its independence, doesn't have any state. So as Turkey and as the parliamentarians, what we believe is that the real solution is not to look into just what goes on during the recent events, but to look at the root cause. The root cause is the invasion has to stop. The borders of Israel has to be clear. The whole world should know where Israel's border ends. And it's unfortunate that all the Western countries, so-called democratic countries, almost like staying behind Israel's atrocities against civilians. So the solution is, as Turkey, we are very clear that it has to be a two-state solution. There has to be a Palestinian state as well as an Israeli state over there, and basically it should be based on 1967, the borders.
So, Mr. Oktay, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has signed the protocol of Sweden's NATO accession and sent it to the parliament for approval. What's the atmosphere in the parliament? Is it going to be approved?
Nobody can say anything at this point, indeed. Just came to our commission. It's at the Foreign Relations Committee right now, and the commission, of course, we do have our own agenda right now, so we have to go through our agenda first, and then we'll be getting it into our agenda, and then get all the information based upon the protocol that has been, the memorandum that has been signed between the two countries, between Turkey and Finland, and Sweden as well. So the Finland issue is now behind us. Yes. So we will look into every single part of that protocol. We'll look into the implementation part. Do
you believe that Sweden has addressed Turkey's concerns, especially when it comes to supporting terrorism?
They claim that they have, and so far, personally, I have not been. I don't think
they have.
That I do have enough information that they have. So we'll be looking into those details with all the members of our committee. One other point is that unfortunately some of the NATO members, of course Turkey is open to, Turkey basically supports an open door policy for NATO. So we don't have any problem with that. But at the same time, what we claim is that NATO is a security operation which secures its borders and its members' borders as well. So for you to accept anybody as a member, you have to make sure that you can somehow depend on that member. Unfortunately, today, most of the member states, not only Sweden indeed, supports PKK, YPG, PYD, SDP, FETÖ. So this is one of the issues that we have been fighting for.
So, Mr. Oktay, just briefly, how do you see Turkey's next century?
Well, with the new, today's Turkiye is a lot stronger than yesterday's Turkiye, and tomorrow's Turkiye is going to be a lot more stronger than today's, because we do have, especially when we look at the last 20 years, we have invested a lot into our infrastructure and technology and into our people. There are many problems around Turkey. Turkey is able to manage its risks and uses the opportunities, finds out the opportunities out of those, and again, not only invests into its own future, but also invests into the peace and the prosperity of the region and the entire world in it. And I really look forward to a stronger Turkey in the next century that we have already into.
So, Mr. Oktay, we have to leave it here. Thank you very much for joining me on Strait Talk. I appreciate it a lot.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate it.
In fact, I feel proud and amazing because it's a turning point for my country, and as a Turkish young woman, it gives me hope to see the 100, because we have made it through since the foundation of the country, and I see that there are many years ahead of us and there will be better days, so it gives me hope, and I wish the best for my country.
I would like to be one of the greatest examples of this Turkish Republic if I can do it. As long as my possibilities allow this to happen. Because as I told you, as a woman, as a Turkish woman, the representation of Turkish Republic is so important.
I try to represent my country as far as I can. I try to do my best to represent my country in the academic field.
I spoke with Tudor Onea, an assistant professor of international relations here at Bilkent, about how much Turkey has changed in the past century and what's on the minds of his students.
I think it did pretty well. And if you're thinking, particularly if you're comparing Turkey with some of the other states that have emerged out of the Ottoman Empire, it has good reasons to be satisfied. And if you're looking 100 years after, it is one of the top 20 economies in the world in terms of GDP. If you're measuring it by purchasing power parity, it is basically the 12th in the world. It is the size of Italy. So I would say, I mean, Turkey is definitely an important regional player, both in Europe and in the Middle East. Turkey had certain assets, location, which is very important, demographic assets, resources assets. But at the same time, this was also the consequence of good strategy and of making the right choices at the right times. And so this is something that definitely the country owes to leaders like Atatürk and İnönü.
So you work with Turkey's next generation of students. Talk to us about their perception of the Republic of Turkey. How do they feel about it? And when you talk to them, I mean, do you ask them what kind of a role you would like to play for your country in the future? What do they say?
They are particularly proud of defining themselves as Turkish. And so they conserve, they keep their cultural heritage, and they also keep an interest in the country. So I would say that even if they go abroad, they are still thinking of maybe coming back. And I would also say in terms of, say, the identity, what Turkey wants to be. Canada or Sweden or Switzerland, this sort of prosperous, good citizen, democratic middle power.
Okay.
Does it want to be a regional power like South Africa that only affects, events in its region, or does it want to be a country of consequence, a great power? So a country that, goes, it's not only interested in its region, but in the international system as a whole. And her research and mine, in fact, indicates that, in fact, this is ultimately the identity that Turkey wants to follow. But it really wants to be a great state, very much like the likes of Britain and France.
One of the major successes of Turkiye's modernization drive over the past century has been its homegrown defense industry, supplied by indigenous technology. Everything from drones and fighter aircraft to naval ships, Turkey is pushing to end its dependence on foreign arms imports. And decades of investment in both human capital and hardware is starting to show real returns. One of the companies that helped lead that charge is Turkish Aerospace Industries, or TUSAŞ. To get an understanding of how that partnership worked, I spoke with the CEO of TUSAŞ, Temel Kotil, about how far the country has come over the past 100 years, especially when it comes to defense.
Actually, if you go to the 100 years back, the beginning of the Republic, and a few years later on, Turkey has the intention to build his own aircraft, defense purpose and civilian purpose, all the military equipment, even the ships for the aircraft carriers, I don't know, you get the chance to see it in the one magazine. In the first 10 years, Turkey want to have had the aircraft carriers. But unfortunately, something happened a little bit different, but thanks to Allah, God, that I think Turkey put the things together. And today we're building our own Turkish, which is small turboprop, nice machine, a trainer.
Yes.
And the Hürjet is on the back right now.
Yes.
Sorry, you are the back. And that one is a turbojet trainer and light attack. Nice machine, supersonic. And there is another one, Khan, it's not here. It cannot fit here. No, next time I promise I'm going to bring him here.
Okay, great.
And Khan.
So,
and this is the fixed wing. There is other things also.
So from a global standpoint, where does this sector stand when it is compared to other big players?
My company, about the 6,000 plus engineer, and the largest one, if you compare, we are still, maybe less than quarter, maybe 10%, even 10%. So still we need to grow. But what's the important thing about Turkey is, we have a lot of young engineer, potential technicians. They love work for us. The best of Turkey, they're coming our companies, I mean, if you compare us with the other Western NATO member countries, I stay so many different places. I know them a little bit, and really, Turkey right now is very good shape in terms of attracting young intellectual people. As a technician, as an engineer, as a salesman, we're lucky. And you will see soon, hopefully, we have became a monster. I said, we became the monster recently, one of the NATO members, but nice monster, not the bad one, good monster.
So do you ever experience brain drain, and what are the challenges, main challenges actually faced?
I mean, 7 years
this?
here, it's not a short time, huh? In the first few years, we face a lot of people who want to go overseas. Today, they're coming from overseas.
They're coming back?
Yes. What the attractive for the youngs? I had a few young people tonight also. They visit me, and I see from their eyes, they are the next big businessman. Why? Because the product we are developing is state of art. It's really, it's the big products, I mean, Hürjet, we believe, is the best in the class. I can go to the numbers, but I don't know to the marketing and cost problem or TV programs. And that's one. Second thing is, we provide this all young intellectual the tools design tools, manufacturing tools in Turkey. Believe me, it's state of art and the best one. Why? Because we have a state of art projects in Turkey, and we need to use state of art product and very nice people.
Okay.
That's opportunity. This is why they want to come. Everybody wants to work for us. Not only Turkish, the national, but also foreign countries, they're coming because we're building better than others.
All right,
Yeah.
Mr. Kotil. Unfortunately, we'll have to leave it here. Thank you very much
You're
for
welcome.
joining me on Strait Talk.
And next 100 years, hopefully we're going to have another program, but much different.
Hopefully, okay. Thank you very much. The past century for Turkey has been anything but easy. For decades, the country battled deeply hidden centers of self-interested power to maintain its democracy. On the international front, Turkey would see dozens of conflicts break out on its doorstep, but it was able to meet those challenges both at home and abroad. And as this country of 85 million people celebrates its centenary, many are hopeful the next century will bring even more success. Thank you for being with us from Ankara. I'm Ayşe Süberker. I'll see you next time.